Don't worry, they're totally fine. Madeline's text came through at 1:14 a.m. Sound asleep. Checked on them an hour ago. I was at a medical conference in Denver, 3 states away from my children, when my phone buzzed with a notification, not from Madeline's text, but from my smart doorbell camera. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and I'm a pediatric surgeon and single mother to 2 amazing kids, Emma, 8, and Lucas, 6. That night, my world nearly shattered because I trusted my sister-in-law to watch them while I attended a mandatory conference. The doorbell footage showed my children in their pajamas wandering around our front yard in the dark. Emma was holding Lucas's hand, both of them looking confused and scared. My heart stopped. I immediately called Madeline. Music thumped in the background when she answered. "Hey, the kids are fine, totally knocked out," she yelled over the noise. "Really? Then why is my doorbell camera showing them outside right now?" My voice was ice cold. Silence. Then, oh my God. "Where are you, Madeline?" I'm at Eclipse, but I swear, I checked on them before I left. They were sleeping. Eclipse, the new nightclub downtown. My children's aunt, whom I trusted to stay with them overnight, had left them alone to go clubbing. Get back to my house. Now, I hung up and called Mrs. Peterson, my elderly neighbor. She answered on the second ring, bless her heart. "Sarah, is everything all right?" "Mrs. Peterson, I'm so sorry to wake you, but I need your help. My children are outside alone. Could you please get them and take them to your house until I can get someone there?" "Oh my word. Of course, dear. I see them right now. Poor things." I watched through the doorbell camera as Mrs. Peterson hurried across her lawn in her robe. Emma saw her and waved, relief visible even in the grainy night footage. "Emma." "Lucas, what are you doing outside, sweeties?" Mrs. Peterson's voice came through clearly on the camera. "We woke up and Aunt Maddie was gone," Emma explained, clutching Lucas's hand tighter. "We got scared because all the lights were off and we couldn't find her. We thought maybe she was out here." My 6-year-old son was crying quietly. I felt sick to my stomach. While Mrs. Peterson shepherded my children to her house, I called the police. Then I called Jack, my ex-husband's brother and Madeline's husband. "Do you know where your wife is?" I asked when he answered groggily. "She said she was staying at your place tonight, watching the kids while you're at your conference." "Why?" "She left them alone to go to Eclipse. The police are on their way to my house now." Silence, followed by a string of curses. "I'm on my way." I booked the first flight home I could find, but it wouldn't leave for 5 hours. I felt helpless, watching through Mrs. Peterson's security cameras as police cars arrived at my house, lights flashing. Madeline showed up 20 minutes later in an Uber, stumbling slightly in her high heels. She was wearing a tight red dress that barely covered anything, not exactly appropriate attire for watching young children. The police were waiting for her. Through the camera feed, I could hear her trying to explain. "I just went out for a little bit. They were sleeping. I didn't think they'd wake up." One of the officers was taking notes while another spoke into his radio. Jack arrived moments later, his face a mask of fury as he watched his wife being questioned by the police. Mrs. Peterson sent me periodic updates about the children. They were scared but safe, cuddled up on her couch with hot chocolate and her old golden retriever, Max. "Emma's more worried about you being upset than anything else," Mrs. Peterson texted. "She keeps saying she hopes Aunt Maddie isn't in too much trouble." That was my Emma, always thinking of others, even when she was the one who'd been wronged. My heart ached for both my children and for the trust that had been broken. I opened my messages from Madeline, scrolling through her earlier texts from the evening, 7:45 p.m. "Kids are fed. Emma helped make mac and cheese, 9 o'clock p.m. Both tucked in after story time. Emma wanted 3 books, but I kept it to 1 lol, 11:30 p.m. Everything's great here. They're sleeping like angels, 1:14 a.m. Don't worry, they're totally fine." Each message was a lie, carefully crafted to hide what she was really doing. The police would later find her apartment key in my house. She'd planned this all along, waiting until the children were asleep to go out. The responding officers took statements from everyone. My neighbors who had security footage of the time frame, Mrs. Peterson, Jack, and of course, Madeline. Because no harm had come to the children and they hadn't been left alone for an extended period, they said it would be up to me whether to press charges. As I sat in the quiet airport terminal waiting for my flight, I thought about all the times Madeline had watched my children before. How many other nights had she done this? How many times had my children been left alone while their aunt went out partying? The thought made me sick. I trusted her not just as their aunt, but as family. She betrayed that trust in the most fundamental way possible. My phone buzzed with a text from Jack. "I'm staying at Mrs. Peterson's with the kids until you get home. We need to talk about what happens next." What happens next? Such a simple phrase for such a complicated situation. This wasn't just about one night of negligence. This was about family, trust, and the safety of my children. As I boarded my flight home, I knew one thing for certain. Madeline would never be left alone with my children again. But the ripple effects of her actions would impact our entire family in ways none of us could have anticipated. By the time I arrived home at 7 a.m., the situation had evolved from a family crisis into something much more complicated. Madeline had been posting on social media all night, trying to control the narrative before I could even get home. Some people are so dramatic. She'd written at 3 a.m. kids were perfectly safe, sleeping soundly, but sure called the cops because they woke up and got scared. #overprotective Meg. Her friends had chimed in with supportive comments. "You're such a great aunt. And some people just don't know how to have fun anymore." Each notification made my blood boil. I found Jack sitting at my kitchen table, looking like he hadn't slept at all. Mrs. Peterson had brought the children back home an hour earlier, and they were finally sleeping in their own beds. "Madeline's at her mother's house," he said before I could ask. "She's convinced this is all being blown out of proportion. Said she checked the children were asleep before leaving, that she was only gone for 2 hours, that she deserves a life too." I set my bag down carefully, controlling my anger. She deserves a life? What about my children's right to feel safe in their own home? Jack ran his hands through his hair. "I know. Trust me, I know. But her mother's taking her side, saying you're using this to drive a wedge between us. That you've always been jealous of Madeline's youth and freedom." I almost laughed at the absurdity. Freedom to abandon children in her care? To go clubbing while they wake up alone and scared? "The police want to know if you're pressing charges," Jack said quietly. "They said it would be child endangerment, a misdemeanor, but with her social media posts trying to minimize it." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with a text from my ex-husband, David. "Just saw Madeline's posts. What the hell happened? Are the kids okay?" Perfect. Now the whole family would be involved. I spent the next hour giving statements to Child Protective Services, who had been notified by the police. They took detailed notes about the incident, including screenshots of Madeline's social media posts and the doorbell camera footage. "Mrs. Mitchell," the CPS worker said gently, "given your profession as a pediatric surgeon, you understand why we take these situations seriously. Your sister-in-law's apparent lack of remorse and attempts to downplay the incident are concerning." I nodded, thinking of all the cases of neglect I'd seen in my work. I never thought my own children would be victims of it. Around noon, Madeline's mother, Patricia, showed up unannounced. She burst into my house like she owned it, her face red with indignation. "How dare you do this to my daughter?" she shouted. "She made one mistake, and you're trying to ruin her life. Those children were perfectly safe." I stood my ground. "They were wandering outside at 1 a.m. while your daughter was at a nightclub. They could have been kidnapped, hit by a car, anything could have happened." "Oh please," Patricia scoffed. "When we were young, children had more freedom. This helicopter parenting is what's wrong with your generation." "This isn't about parenting styles," I said firmly. "This is about a responsible adult abandoning her duty of care." Duty of care. Patricia laughed bitterly. "Listen to you, so clinical and cold. No wonder David left." That was a low blow, but I refused to take the bait. "I think you should leave now. Not until you agree to drop this ridiculous idea of pressing charges. Madeline's sorry, isn't that enough?" I thought about my children's faces in the doorbell camera footage, scared and confused in the dark. No, it's not enough. And if Madeline was truly sorry, she wouldn't be on social media trying to justify what she did. Patricia left in a huff, but the drama was far from over. Within hours, the family had split into 2 camps. Those who thought I was overreacting and those who supported my decision to take legal action. Jack was caught in the middle, torn between loyalty to his wife and his duty as an uncle. "I love Madeline," he told me that evening, "but what she did, I can't defend it. And these social media posts, trying to make you look like the bad guy. I don't even recognize her anymore. Emma and Lucas were quiet that day, processing what had happened in their own ways. Emma kept checking to make sure the doors were locked, while Lucas wouldn't let me out of his sight. "Mommy," Emma asked as I tucked them in that night, "is Aunt Maddie going to jail?" My heart broke at the worry in her voice. "No, sweetheart. But she made a very bad choice, and there have to be consequences. Like when I broke your favorite mug and couldn't watch TV for a week." "Something like that," I said, smoothing her hair. "The important thing is that you and Lucas are safe." As I closed their bedroom door, my phone lit up with a text from Madeline. "Can we talk? I know I messed up, but don't let one mistake ruin everything." One mistake that could have cost me everything, I thought. But this conversation would have to wait until tomorrow. Right now, my children needed me, and they would always come first. The next day would bring more family drama, more accusations, and a revelation about Madeline that would change everything. But for now, my children were safe in their beds, and that was all that mattered. The revelation about Madeline came from an unexpected source. Mrs. Peterson called me the next morning, her voice trembling with concern. "Sarah, dear, I think you should know something. This wasn't the first time." My heart stopped. "What do you mean?" "About a month ago, when you were working the night shift, I saw Madeline leaving your house around midnight. I assumed she'd arranged for someone else to watch the children, but now, I felt sick. Checking my smart doorbell's history confirmed my worst fears. Over the past 3 months, there were at least 5 instances where Madeline had left the house late at night while watching my children. When I confronted Jack with this information, he broke down. I found bar receipts in her purse, he admitted. I thought they were from nights out with her friends, but the dates match up with when she was supposed to be watching Emma and Lucas. I called the police investigator handling the case. This wasn't just one incident of poor judgment, it was a pattern of endangerment. Madeline's response was to double down. She posted a lengthy Facebook rant about how I was destroying her marriage and using my position as a doctor to make her look bad. Then came the text that pushed me over the edge. "Maybe if you spent less time working and more time being a real mother, you wouldn't need me to watch your kids." I forwarded everything to my lawyer. The family divide grew deeper. Patricia led a campaign of harassment, telling anyone who would listen that I was an ungrateful, vindictive woman who was jealous of her daughter's youth and freedom. Some relatives stopped speaking to me entirely, but others stepped forward with their own stories. "She left my son alone at the park last summer," my cousin Amanda revealed. "Said she had to take an important call. But I saw her Instagram story. She was meeting friends for drinks." Even David, my ex-husband, stood firmly on my side. "Press charges," he insisted. "The kids could have been hurt. This isn't about family loyalty anymore. It's about their safety." The final straw came when Emma's therapist called me. During their session, Emma had revealed something chilling. The night Aunt Maddie left, it wasn't the first time we woke up alone. She had told the therapist. Sometimes we'd wake up and she wouldn't be there, but she made us promise not to tell. She said you'd have to work more if we did, and then we'd never see you. That emotional manipulation of my children was unforgivable. I filed charges the next day. Madeline was arrested for multiple counts of child endangerment. The evidence was overwhelming. Doorbell camera footage, bar receipts, witness statements, and her own incriminating social media posts. Jack filed for divorce shortly after. "I loved her," he told me, "but I can't be with someone who would endanger children and then try to justify it." Emma and Lucas could have been hurt, or worse. Patricia showed up at my house one last time, but this visit was different. Her righteous anger had been replaced by desperate pleading. "Please drop the charges," she begged. "Madeline's life will be ruined. She'll never be able to work with children again." "That's exactly the point," I replied calmly. "She shouldn't work with children. She's proven she can't be trusted with their safety." Madeline took a plea deal, probation, mandatory counseling, and a restriction from working with or caring for minors. She moved back in with Patricia, her social media suddenly quiet. The family rift would never fully heal, but I was at peace with that. My children's safety was worth more than keeping up appearances. 6 months later, Emma and Lucas were thriving. Therapy had helped them process their fear of abandonment, and our bond was stronger than ever. One evening, as I tucked them into bed, Lucas asked, "Mom, are you mad that we didn't tell you about Aunt Maddie leaving before?" "No, sweetheart," I assured him. "None of this was your fault. You were very brave to tell the truth when you did." Emma hugged me tight. "We like Mrs. Peterson watching us now. She never leaves, and she makes the best cookies." I smiled, grateful for my elderly neighbor who had become such a reliable part of our lives. Later that night, I received an unexpected email from Jack. He was moving to Seattle for a fresh start, but he wanted me to know something. "You did the right thing, Sarah." I was too close to see it at first, but Madeline's actions could have had tragic consequences. Emma and Lucas are lucky to have a mother who puts their safety first, no matter the personal cost. Looking at my sleeping children, I knew every burned bridge had been worth it. Sometimes being a good parent means making hard choices, standing firm when it would be easier to give in. Madeline's betrayal had cost me family relationships, but it had given me something more valuable: the knowledge that I would always protect my children, no matter what anyone else thought. And that was worth everything.